Hi everybody, I'm Chris Hernandez, and this is the Weekly Report, your look at news from the city of Kansas City, Missouri. This week, city leaders gathered here at 81st and Troost to celebrate the end of a project that will reduce sewer overflows. This is an innovative green solution. It also provides some parkland for the neighborhood. And what happens is when you have a heavy rainstorm, all the water will gather here rather than rushing immediately into the sewer system. This event also recognizes the end of several years of improvements here in Marlboro and surrounding neighborhoods.
The city maintains thousands of miles of sewers and combined sewers, and the goal is for us to be able to divert some of this water to reduce the flooding throughout the community.
The one thing that Councilwoman did not mention is that this green infrastructure saves us money. We were able to do this with a $34 million budget versus $50 million, $55 million if we were to do it with regular gray infrastructure. So that's something to be applauded within itself.
I think it's important because of all the things said to really thank the neighborhood, the Marlboro Community Coalition. This is a better project with your input, and we really appreciate your working with the city to make this a better project.
1, 2, 3.
Marlboro!
Have you received this in the mail yet? It is the fall 2017 edition of KCmo magazine. This magazine is produced by the City Communications Office to keep you informed about events and projects and programs provided by the City of Kansas City, Missouri. You can also read this magazine online at kcmo.gov. If you'd also like to hear about city programs more often, we also produce KCmo Snapshots. That's an online newsletter with stories and videos from city departments. So visit kcmo.gov/subscribe to sign up to receive KCmo Snapshots or other city notifications, or to get a hard copy of this magazine in your mail.
Hi there, I'm Randy Cohen, Vice President of Research and Policy at Americans for the Arts. We are a national organization looking to connect every American to the arts and make sure everyone has the opportunity to participate and engage in the arts. I'm here in Kansas City today to talk about a new research study called Arts and Economic Prosperity, the economic impact of nonprofit arts organizations and their audiences. This is a study looking at how the arts not only improve the quality of our life, but are good for the economy. Right here in the Kansas City region, arts are a $276 million industry that support 8,970 jobs and generate $24.5 million to local and state government revenue. We're changing the conversation about the arts from charity to industry, one that's good for the economy, supports jobs, generates government revenue. Arts organizations are businesses. It's improving our life in all parts of our life. You know, when the arts are part of a young person's education, they're performing better academically, they're getting better grade point averages, better test scores, lower dropout rates, and those are findings that cut across all socioeconomic strata. Arts are attracting a workforce and they're making our businesses in our community more competitive. Arts organizations are good business citizens. When we support the arts, we're not investing in a frill, we're investing in an industry. So what can we do to help the arts and help make the arts thrive? You know what? Pick up the phone, call your city council person or call your county manager and say, you know what, the arts are important to me. I want my kids to have the opportunity to experience the arts in the schools. I love coming to the downtown to experience a great performance or a great festival. I love the murals in my community. You can make the difference by telling your story about how the arts touch your life. Right here, the arts mean business.
Paseo Gateway project is a $30 million grant we received from HUD, that's the city and the housing authority, to demolish some old public housing over Choteau Courts, and we are building 6 phases of new replacement mixed income housing. This is the second phase.
Pendleton Flats is part of a larger redevelopment effort for the Northeast area and Paseo Gateway. There's 30 units here, which is really transitioning this entire neighborhood and revitalizing it and really making it a place that people can live, work, and play.
The Kansas City, Missouri Police Department Helicopter Unit is commemorating 50 years of providing aerial support for KCPD and surrounding agencies. Former Kansas City Police Chief Clarence Kelly authorized the Aerial Patrol Squad, making the KCPD the only law enforcement agency in the Kansas City metropolitan area with helicopters. Retired KCPD Sergeant Hugh Mulder explains how it got started.
Missouri was the host for the International Association Chiefs of Police Conference, and Hughes Helicopter was using the conference as an advertising vehicle to advertise police helicopters. And we flew, Kansas City officers flew in the helicopters during the conference. One of the more amusing aspects was that the people from Hughes Helicopters had hung on hotel doors, "Sleep well tonight, the city is patrolled by helicopter." And it was true, there were police officers in the helicopter. But that was the beginning of the program in Kansas City.
In November 1967, KCPD sent Mulder and 5 other officers to Long Beach, California for flight training and purchased 3 Hughes 300B helicopters. After training, the officers flew the helicopters back to Kansas City. A recent open house featured flight demonstrations, old photos, and the opportunity for visitors to see what it's like to sit in the pilot seat. Captain Sean Nichols says the technology of flying has changed.
Back when these 6 people were flying, individuals were flying, technology isn't what it is today. The helicopters were not as safe. They weren't even close to safe. The training periods that we go through now, they didn't do back then. They were basically given basic flight instructions, flight training, and sent up in the air. Whereas today, we train a whole lot more often than what they did back then.
Sergeant William Bumpus was the first African-American pilot to fly for KCPD and is also one of the original 6 who founded the unit. His daughters, Yvette and Annette Bumpus, were in attendance and shared their memories.
They asked us to tell what was our most fondest memory of Daddy, and I think it was when he landed the helicopter in our backyard because he told Mama that he had left his wallet, so he came home to get it. And one of the other things I can remember is when he came to St. Martin de Porres when we were younger for Christopher career day, and he landed on the 3rd level of the playground. And my brother Christopher Bumpus, who was also a Kansas City police officer, he was the biggest hit that day, and so were we. So I sure appreciate that, and I'll never forget. Even now, when we see helicopters in the sky, we always wave and we're like, hey! Because we never knew when we were young, and so that was something that Mama always started us with. So we've always waved at the helicopter, and I don't know, I'm getting a little emotional right now, but yes, very nice to be here today.
All of KCPD's current pilots and those through the history of the unit have their FAA commercial rotorcraft pilot ratings. The 3 helicopters in today's fleet were purchased in 2012 for $8.6 million. They were custom built to meet KCPD's needs and were funded by the Public Safety Sales Tax as well as federal grant and asset forfeiture funds. I'm Sergeant Matt Fisher. Have a safe week.
Today we are at the Lyric Opera Center located in Kansas City's East Crossroads District to learn more about Everest, the Lyric Opera's newest production that opens on November 11th at the Kauffman Center for the Performing Arts. Today we are with Deborah Sandler, who is the General Director and the CEO of the Lyric. Deborah, thank you so much for having us here. And
it's my pleasure.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Now, this is the first stage performance of Everest after it debuted in Dallas. How did Everest make its way to Kansas City?
Well, it debuted in January of 2015, and I had the great good fortune of being invited to come see it. And as I sat in the audience and I sort of, took my own pulse and heartbeat and was sensitive to the people around me, I knew that I was watching something very, very special, and it was something that I thought that our Kansas City audiences would love. And then how to figure out how to make it happen.
And there's so many, there have been so many expeditions of Mount Everest. So is this about a specific expedition or experience at Mount Everest?
Yes, it is. So it's based on the story is the same story that John Krakauer's book, Into Thin Air, is based on. And it tells the many stories of the 1996 expedition, which proved to be so disastrous for so many people.
How are you setting up the stage and the actors to replicate that excitement of that experience, of that expedition?
Well, I'm so glad you've asked. This is a fascinating production. I've said to other people that taken together it is probably the most musically and technologically challenging production that we have ever done. So from the very beginning, when the composer and the librettist got together, they were excited about a number of things. How they were going to visually replicate the look of the mountain, how they were going to suggest what it felt like. And then for the composer, the opportunity to replicate the sound of the mountain. What happens when you're so high up but not at the summit? What does the wind sound like during a storm? So we have 30 instruments, percussion instruments alone, to take care of that, which will be played by 4 members of the Kansas City Symphony.
Oh my goodness.
And the stage itself, there are a lot of interesting things happening. So there are 90 cubes, 4 feet by 4 feet by 4 feet. They're big cubes, and they are bolted together at different angles, and the actors, the singing actors, actually climb those cubes. So it represents, the climb of the mountain. We are going to be bringing in a company called Flying by Foy, because we are going to have people rappelling 17 feet down the set, which replicates the mountain. So there are a lot of interesting things going on. Every person who stands on that stage and sings will be wearing a harness, either over their costume or under the costume. So we have a lot of practicing to do.
Oh,
and they have to also perform their parts at the same time. They have to sing, and they have to move, and they have to be cognizant of a tricky terrain, shall we say.
Mm-hmm. Well, and 3 words stuck out from your mission statement: transformative opera experiences, and that definitely falls into that category. So I'm so excited that it's coming to Kansas City and it's at the Kaufman.
Right.
But you also, throughout your season, you also have an initiative where you place operas in different settings for people to experience in different ways. Can you tell us about how that initiative got started and what are some of the settings?
We have a series of activities that have been planned around Everest, and people should go to kcmo.gov to see the entire menu. One of them, for example, is going to be an event at Rock KC. One of our cast members, Craig Verm, is actually a climber, and he will be doing climbing at Rock KC and talking about the opera. We have book groups that are being done in conjunction with the library, so people can read Into Thin Air and have a conversation with Katie Stover. We have other climbers coming to talk. We had another event at the library. So we have a number of events outside of the concert hall to perhaps create points of entry into the opera and demystify what we're doing. The opera is also only 75 minutes long, but it's a very intense 75 minutes. So that's also part of the allure of the opera.
Oh my goodness, and you do so much also to nurture the new generation of opera fans and opera professionals with so many different programs that you have. You go out to schools, and you also have a residency program, and so many different programs that are not just related to a specific opera, but you go out and beyond your performance spaces as well. If people want to sign up for a workshop or for a performance to come to their school, how would they go about doing that?
Again, we are blessed with a great website. So you would go to kcopera.org and you would click on education. Everything is on the website. We look at education as lifelong learning. So we have programs that start with little itty bitty ones that go up through adult education. You know, before each and every opera, if you come early, you can come into the Kaufman Center and you can hear somebody give a pre-opera lecture. So they'll demystify it and they'll explain everything that it's about. So there are plenty of opportunities for people to learn.
And to get tickets on your website too.
And to get tickets. Tickets can be purchased on our website too.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of this information about the opera, but also about Everest.
Thank you for inviting us to be part of this. We love to share our information.
The Neighborhood Tourist Development Fund supports local nonprofits that bring cultural, social, educational, and recreational activities to our area. To learn about additional upcoming events, visit kcmo.gov/ntdf.
I'm Chad Thompson with the Public Works Department. We're here on one of our KC Go Bond projects. This is the Paseo Bridge improvements. This is a project that is about a $1.2 million construction project that we are redoing some panels on the bridge that were having some issues over time, as we just need to do general maintenance on our bridges. Redoing some of the flower beds, we're redoing the sidewalks, and we're redoing some of the railings as they go along.
We're happy to celebrate more Go KC projects in Kansas City. Happy to work with a local firm like Clarkson, and glad to have them with us today. I think this is another sign for the residents of Kansas City that what they voted to approve is happening quickly, it's happening well, and it's happening in every neighborhood of Kansas City.
The general obligation funds that the citizens passed, over $800 million in work, of course, that is taking place in the tour to see this good work on behalf of our city staff and making the type of repairs that are so desperately needed in our infrastructure and aging infrastructure. Years of repairs that need to be fixed, and of course, as we've been able to see along this stretch here, it allows for that work to take place.
We're sitting on a bridge between the 3rd and 5th district, and those of us who sit on the council who represent those districts really try to work together to make sure we have improvements that are going to enhance both of those districts. And this is a testament to that. We're starting with our Go KC projects with a bridge right in the middle of those two districts. The second thing is that we want to be a city that is more walkable, and we're doing some realignment of our pedestrian crosswalks over bridges, and I think that's going to enhance the walkability, bikeability of our city, which makes for better modes of transportation.
You know, what I learned from the tour was that we actually had real problems on this bridge and a lot of other bridges. We had panels falling down, we've had issues for years, something that threatens the public safety of those who are just on these trails underneath. So this was an essential project, and even though we can't always see what some of the infrastructure problems or challenges are, we certainly have them, and I'm glad that we were addressing this one here, and we'll have this done by the beginning of next year to be ready and safe for everybody.
We have a long way to go in improving a lot of our aging infrastructure. And so we are appreciative, of course, for our citizens, and we want them to continue to be patient with us as we work through a lot of the work that we must work through over the next several years in fixing and keeping up with our infrastructure here in Kansas City and our infrastructure needs.
So I commend our friends in the Public Works Department for their efficient work here, for the work on this bridge that's not only one that carries a lot of traffic, but it's one of the most beautiful in Kansas City, and is going to be going back to its great beauty and style here real soon.
Well, the first round of the citywide leaf and brush pickup is starting to wrap up. We have one more week in the Northland starting November 13th. Remember, you can leave up to 20 bags and bundles of leaves and brush on your curb on your regular trash day. The second round of leaf and brush collection starts after Thanksgiving. If you'd rather transport the leaves yourself, the city's leaf and brush drop-off sites are also now open. Remember, drop-off is free to residents on Saturdays with identification. In recognition of Veterans Day, we will be tweeting out the names and photos of veterans. And you can join in helping us honor those veterans. Just tweet us their name, their branch of service, and their photo if you have it. Be sure to use the hashtag KCHonorsVets. Well, that does it for this edition of the Weekly Report. If you'd like to see this program again or any other Channel 2 videos, just go to our website at kcmo.gov and search Channel 2. That page has a link to our YouTube channel where you can view our programs on demand. I'm Chris Hernandez. Have a great week.